welcome back, survivors. I'm the Survivalist, and welcome to the Savara demo. With Half-Life having ended yesterday with not really knowing what I'm going to do next or figure out a new weekend series, I wanted to bring up something that was just a nice easy one-off to talk about, go through, and this demo for the game Savara, I quite enjoyed, but I also feel like it's one of those ones where it's probably best to do just this one-off video of it, because what Savara is an action-roguelike, but instead of things like, say, Dino Path Trail and Windblown that are usually much quicker paced and flowing in a lot of combos and such, Savara is actually a little bit more slow and methodical and has a nice weight behind it in some regards. However, it also does some weird things for a roguelite that kind of feel like it almost shoots itself in the foot. So we're not going to go from scratch at the very beginning of the premise and that. It's basically your character joins a fighting festival that just sees how far you can go, and as you go through, you get certain bonuses, helping items, stuff like that. So you have a few things skills you can choose that you can put into things to get yourself stronger and better and that. You've got badges, which have little effects that you can see on them that will just increase their effectiveness as you complete things along the runs. I can actually choose 4 things at once, so you can get stuff there. You've got talents that you can switch in and out as you please. So you have a lot of ways of being able to modify and change up the run entirely of how you wish to. But where the game kind of feels like it goes a little weird is your armor and weapons, because you might think, okay, well, if I find these they can be made, but you don't get them from the start. No, you actually have a defined loadout you take with yourself for your equipment before you go into runs. And you can also upgrade them along to get even more power to them. So, the issue this kind of stems for a roguelike to me is you'll eventually kind of surpass any use of challenge in the game, because for the demo, granted it's only a few things we can go after, but if you find the demo easy and you haven't really done that much upgrading, as you can see, the weapons I've got here I think only have 1 or 2 levels. Yeah, they're up to level 2. Actually, only 1 is up a level. But there's only 1 level, and I find the demo very easy with them. Maybe we'll just trying to see of what I want to equip where, but maybe we'll stick with what I've got here. But you've got those, so you can have base ones that have hitting enemy increase the next different attacks damage by 5% is something. Explosiveness, your attacks do 7.5 extra damage every other attack for these ones. Toxicity is your attacks reduce the target's damage by 10%. Then you have armor, which has its own things. So you can see here, increase max health by 5. Stacks for each piece of armor, or of the Savara, or her, the base stuff. You have this one, increase damage done by your attacks by 3%, and stacks for each piece of that same one you have. When you finish a room, you heal by 1 health per part you have for armor, and then there's some extras there too. There's a bunch of little things that you can all build and outfit your character, but my issue is I kind of feel it should be you forge these, but then you can find them in runs. So it's more you're modifying and getting parts put together of, say, festival winnings or winnings. Because if you have everything from the outset here, when you go into the runs, it's not going to be all that much of, new gear to try out or whatever. You could just find basically what works for you incredibly well, and you have that pre-locked every single run. It feels weird for, a roguelite in a way. I also don't know how big the game would be either, because, the demo has 2 bosses to go after, but as you can see, each slot is kind of boss. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 only. It feels like it could be a bit shorter. There is a nice thing where you actually have, if you want to choose different skins for what you're using, but you want, the effects of others, you can. You actually have a full dye system, which is pretty neat to help customize however you please and like. So there's nice little bits of customization that. It's just, I don't know if there's enough game to, be that occupied with them.
So, living for hundreds of years, what's that like? Do you get used to it?
Yeah, it's almost you're in Odin's Halls of Valhalla.
One gets used to it, yes. But it's like a wheel that keeps turning. History repeats itself over and over again. It can get tiresome at times.
It must be weird to constantly have the feeling of déjà vu.
That's true. But sometimes there are unique moments, people or events that break the cycle. Those rare instances are what give immortality its savor.
But yeah, we're going to head off into a little adventure, just try taking on another encounter of it. It's where the combat, I think, is the best selling part of this game, because it's something where it feels like you have a lot of weight and momentum and
Small potatoes.
a lot of combos, but it's more so you feel the weight of them than, like, they're cheesy at all. It's like Windblown, you can switch back and forth between, like, a main and a secondary weapon, but there's a little bit more fleshed out mechanics for it. You can have things where, like, actually switching the weapon gives you its own, like, things and plot applications, stuff like that. Maybe we'll go for that one. And then you do have a choice of, like, you get to pick which path you want forward or, like, which main item you want. So, like, we could go for more stamina on that one, or we get another healing item that way. You don't really have the same kind of, like, map layout as you had for other games, like, say, I think Inscription was one that had... Inscription was one I can think of that had it early. Slay the Spire was probably actually the first to really bring that sort of, like, map in. Just want to see... Okay, got a little bit of extra currency. And I'm just going to take a little run around for if there's any other goodies here, but that looks to be it. But once you get into a little bit more active combat with, like, more than one enemy at a time, you'll see that there's a fair bit of weight
The main attraction.
for how the combat flows. And that you do have a stamina bar, so you have to mind that a bit as you're going through your encounters. I don't think you're impervious for your dodges. But I like that there's actually more of this weight. Reading, like, some of the Steam reviews, I think they put it somebody put it properly and aptly, where it's kind of like a mix of Monster Hunter with Hades in a way. Hades for kind of like you go for different blessings and outfit yourself in that regard, but more Monster Hunter for the weight of the combat, how you're always gaining items to help build your own gear outside of it and stuff like that. It does work really well, but the only problem I do kind of lean with it is, again, it feels like having everything at the very beginning from a shop to, like, have yourself fully outfitted might take away a lot of difficulty. This is just the demo, so maybe it has been addressed in the full game better. But for just the encounters I had here, it feels like it has the main part of the combat done well. It's just the systems around it could be improved, be a little bit more engaging and better. Is there anything... Ooh. Might as well snag that for a little bit more of the currency. And looks like that's about all, so we'll keep on going. There are 4 weapon types, as you saw. A great sword, sword and shield, twin swords, and I'm trying to remember what the last one is. Oh, ow. Okay, got hit there. I thought I had queued the, And there's actually a stamina meter for the, what you're fighting almost, too. There we go. Takes care of that. That was, I guess, maybe a mini-boss exactly? No, actually, that's a symbol I don't think I've seen before. Blessing for Devotion. Yeah, we'll go into here. Basically, the blessings are sort of like just an effect that usually goes on your weapons as an extra. And if you do get perfect dodges, I think you get, like, the little boost of stamina back from them. But each weapon has like a little ultimate gauge for itself. You can see on the bottom left to build yourself up with it.
You can't stop me.
And it can be pretty potent if you get it working right. You also do have traps you can use both to hurt yourself, well, not to try to hurt yourself, but you can use them to take out enemies. So what does Devotion do? Your weapons cause Devotion to appear randomly around you. Effect has cooldown. When collected, increases damage from attacks per stack. Okay, so that's what it is. It's like a damage building buff. Maybe we'll try that one. So our weapon swaps will have a chance for it to appear. Is there anything extra around here to look for? As we saw, there are like some of those little gold urns that we can break for some currency. Sometimes there are bodies or things left around too from previous, I guess, combatants going through. Then get trinkets off of.
This'll do.
Also, yeah, that's one thing to keep in mind too is oh, that must be the Devotion there. Ow.
Sorry.
There we go. That one's taken down. Yeah, that's one thing to definitely keep in mind is with the stamina you have, you can't just go fully in blazing at every opportunity you get. You want to try to ration it out for like when your best openings are to advance further, or when to press the attack, when to ease off. Giving the enemies like their own little stamina bar, I think also helps a fair bit too, because it lets them basically go all out for a while, but then you also have a chance to open up in response too. Again, unlike Windblown, which felt like once you can kind of get the Altera attacks, you could almost like breeze through a fair bit of it. It kind of feels like you have a little bit more you can keep going there. Trying to think if there's anything I want to pick up here. I'm going to go for that.
A good investment.
Okay, so we've got option for a bleeding effect, lightning, or more stamina. How about we go for something with lightning? There's a point, too, where you also have, I think it's like, they're called applicators if they're active on the left side that, like, apply for your attacks. And others are just like a passive that'll be about. Yeah, see?
That's gonna leave a mark.
That's where you gotta mind a little bit of the timing for when you're going in and which one you're fighting at once.
A weakness.
There we go. Yeah, so like that's a passive one, increased damage done by lightning by that. That's a passive. I think they usually say on the like bottom right of them if they are a active applicated or applied one, or it'll just help you for your general ones. Well, let's do that one since we do have the to do. Oh, there's one of the like bodies I was talking about. Although maybe it only gives the one thing in the demo. So I think I'd actually want to go over here for max health on this one. But again, this is the point where you can kind of mix and match and go whatever route you feels best.
Better watch out.
But because you do have like just the one weapons you use since the start of the run, it does feel like a little weird for a roguelike in that regard.
Piece of cake.
There we go. And looks like that's all we have to do here. I don't see any urns or anything else really sitting by. Nothing to do with them. So yeah, let's just head on to the next area. I figured this was just a fun demo that I enjoyed trying out. And with a last little day to, like, fill with, Okay, one thing to keep in mind is you can't hold a fully charged attack forever either. Nope. Gotta be careful moving about. And there is also a system, too, where, depending on what kind of attack you're doing, enemies either have more resistance to it or are weak to it. So when we get back to the main hub area, I'll go into that a bit more. Let me just heal up. There we go. And we'll go after the ancient Rhino Boodle. You have two bosses to go for. One's this guy, and the other one is a giant mushroom. This guy, though, is a bit of a tough fight because
Fiercest of the bunch.
there's more to his attacks than it looks like there should be. Like, that big horn counts for a lot of the attacks he does, but it can be hard to know for sure. Like, that's probably the one attack that I think would get a lot of people. Right there's that one, where he, like, does the shoulder check.
I felt that.
And that big horn comes down. Nope, and he's ticked off. So again, another kind of feature of... kind of like Monster Hunter is that you do have enrages on the certain enemies. I think it's like all the mini-boss enemies and the big ones here. They have them. So it can make you have to be more careful about how you do engage and when. Oh. Oh, that hurt a fair bit. Yeah, we'll heal up there. There we go. The bleed got him. So not the most climactic finish, but there we go. That's done. And then it basically just, like, loops you back to the main hub area when you complete that. But I think there's two main types of damage. There's the slicing and the blunt. Yeah, so we'll head back to the main room area and go from there.
That wasn't easy.
Okay, but we'll zoom. So yeah, if we talk to the blacksmith now... So you can see, there's sword and shield, long sword or great sword, a great club, and dual swords. And kind of like vary. Sometimes you have the duels that are actually a shattering weapon. Like you can see in the top right there, you have shatter symbol, a slash symbol. I think, okay, so it might be three different types. Slash, piercing, and shattering. So each enemy does have like a weakness to a certain type. I think the big beetles that we were going up against were weak to shattering stuff, and the mushroom guys were actually weak to the cutting of our sword and shield. So you can kind of learn a little bit as you go through that. But you can also see we now could upgrade the weapon, this one further if we wanted to. or we could upgrade that a level. I just feel like it'd be better to have it so, say, maybe you have this, you unlock stuff, but after, like, you, say, clear a room, or you have an option for, like, new weapon to obtain, or new armor piece to get. Something where it doesn't feel like, at the very beginning of your run, you can immediately know if you'll win or lose, just because of, like, what you've decided to pick for yourself. I know it's not that much seen with it just being the demo we played, but I just kind of get, like, it could be a little too easy with this being, like, brought forward. Other roguelites usually have it where you'll unlock things you can find in your runs to help modify. Not at the very beginning, it always improves that way for you. But that was just Savara to check it out. Again, kind of use up that last day slot for the channel. And it was a demo I did enjoy. If you guys do want to see me cover the full game, just be sure to let me know in the comments. I can pick it up then and do that. But for now, I think this is just like a nice little Sunday video to round things out with for the week. So thank you all very much for joining me on this episode of the Savara demo. If you liked the video, be sure to give it a like. If you want to check the demo out for yourself, there is of course a link to its Steam page down in the video description. So with that, until I do see you all next video or episode, survivors, I'm screwing this up. Please remember, as always, to take care and stay alive.